please go. They want us to leave already. I don't know. Oh, no. Okay, that please go was you're on live. So, welcome to the short film and real wild compostudio. I am your host, Truck. Welcome to my show. With me are people. Frankie, darn it! All I can see right now is your name on the the thing that we communicate through, and it's way too long for me to pronounce. So please give your actual short handle.
My name is Muzu.
Yes, Muzo.
Yeah.
Yes. And those were short. But before we talk about those, I'd like to talk about the actual real wild compo. And I'd also like to point out to our friend Name, who was back here again for the second year, which makes me very happy. He returned. Sometimes things go wrong, and you saw it there, I hope. And also, right before this, we had a little glitch at the very, very beginning of that where there wasn't any sound. And I think, for me, the audience may have reacted better to that first production because when it first was shown, it didn't have sound. And then later, it did have sound. But don't beat yourself up, and also other folks, not just Name, but other folks. When things go wrong, which they do, don't panic. This is also a note for me later to watch back, and maybe I can remember this. Frankie, what were your impressions of the... I keep wanting to call it... it's the real wild.
Wild.
Yes.
It's what I always like here at Assembly is that the real wild is actually always real wild. You have crazy platforms, new platforms that come up. So iPhone we've had the big screen. We've had Legos, Raspberry Pis, keyboards. I was missing the used Helsinki subway station signs that we have had here. But that's it. Always is real wild here is always a good collection of actual wild stuff that doesn't really have a fixed category hardware-wise.
That works.
Actually, I kind of thought that it wasn't wild enough, because, for instance, well, the what was it? The Android, the iPhone. Yes, that's just more or less normal stuff. But the Hack Lab was nice. That was like I think that was the first demo to like utilize the big screen.
It was, and I watched it. I saw it on the huge screen. I'm not even going to call it a big screen. It's a gargantuan screen.
Right.
And I want to use that entire thing. I want to have a production that uses that entire thing.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
astounding. It wasn't the most impressive production. I mean, it was an advertisement for the Hack Lab. It's kind of like inviting people to a party. You don't want it to be a killer production. You want it to be an invite.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, did that look good.
Yes, and the other two, the keyboard and the Raspberry Pi, the moving things, those two felt like a lot of potential was untapped for both of them. Because, for instance, in the 4 phone screens
Mhm.
one, it looked like the movement didn't really do anything for the demo. It's just it broke up the geometry of what was shown on the screen, but it wasn't meaningful. And it would have been nice
Okay.
if they could play around a bit more with it, like
Can you speak a bit louder?
yeah.
Oh, I can hear him just fine.
Yeah, but they can't.
Oh, Sorry, folks.
So, for instance, it could have been like the screens could have shown a little part of the large picture, and it could have moved, like frame the particular parts, like the focus on particular parts. Or, for instance, they could have played with it like one screen would move to the other screens, and there would be like some physical object interaction, and like it would shatter something, and the shards would fly around on the other screens, and none of that was used.
I agree with you on that. I actually spoke to one of the folks who was involved with it afterwards, and way I look at it, what they did there was maybe a bit of a Hungarian gambit, where they showed they accomplished one thing first. They've got the synchronization between 4 different screens. It was all played back. It used 5 Raspberry Pis. One played the music and one controlled the screen movement, and then the others actually played things back. By doing that, it's, hey, here's a platform that we've created. Now that they've gotten the logistics down and the engineering portion, now they can go and, okay, let's have some fun with it. And I hope that they do that next year. I hope they come back and they...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the potential for that, I agree with you, is really there. Just coming up with ideas of how you can use those different things. That should be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing if they do that for next year. Frankie,
Yes.
keyboard thing. We talked about something that was perhaps an issue with that earlier. Do you want to elaborate on that? The pacing.
Yeah, I know. Yes, the pacing.
Yes.
No, it was the technically yes indeed, but it was a bit, once you've done a scroller over it, I think we got it, and doing 2 or 3, I think that sometimes less is more, and this certainly time-wise, half would have been a lot better. Just do your proof of concept, do your scroller, play your snake game, and wrap it up. I do hope that in the first shot set hello assembly, we had to actually move the keycaps to make it work, so it's not that it's a full visual keyboard, so just the RGB controls. But still, yeah, it was out of 5 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes could have been cut. And I know people want to show off their thing because they're proud, and they rightly should so. But then, yeah, it doesn't always play all the...
Speak specifically to this because one of the platforms that often has pacing issues is the Commodore 64, because it takes a while to load things from the disk. So you often run into pacing issues with that. So it is a common situation. Either of you want to comment anything more on the Real Wild?
I would like to say that the Hack Lab invitation, I should probably call it, did everything right, as you said. It just set to do one thing, and like to utilize the screen to make a good invitation. And it looked good, it sounded good, it delivered upon the idea it had. So it's like as good as it could have been for that particular purpose. And the Android and iPhone demos, they were just like solid compo filler, I would say. Like they weren't really winner material, but like they looked and sounded well as well. I think, at least here in the hall, I don't know how it looked on the actual device, but the synchronization was just a little bit off on the iPhone demo, so it didn't like had the effect needed, I think.
I think you could be right. There may have been, because it may have had to be recaptured at a different frame rate, and that might actually be a problem. Well, hopefully not, because it would be nice to see more iPhone demos.
Mm-hmm.
I think perhaps moving on to the other, and my note-taking application has decided that it's good. It crashed there for a second. Scared me. One thing I do want to say about is the transition. Props to Tot for actually putting the animation instead of, okay, we made a thing and put it on a phone and putting that in the real wild. It's an animation. They said it was an animation, and they played it in the animation category. I prefer that. Sometimes we have the line blurred between is this an animation being played back on a weird device, or is this code that is utilizing the weird device? And it is, I feel, more fair when you put the animations with animations and the code with code. Anything you want to? Should we go one by one through all of these, or do you want to just randomly scramble through them? Or
There are many. One by one would work better.
all right. First, I'll start with the first one. I was talking with Blue Flame about it, and I realized how jaded I was because I was looking at it and saying, well, I'm not sure why this couldn't have been in 4K. It's still amazing. It still really looked good. And yeah, we were talking about some things that you could do with this if you synced something to the music or did something with this. It's still good. And a couple of years ago, we would have been just in awe of making realistic-looking clouds. So I think looking at this and looking at some of the other productions in this, I'm a little jaded because we've done such amazing stuff in real time. And you look at them and say, well, why did they have to render this? They could have done this in real time. So if I sound down on the production, it's because I'm a little jaded, and I apologize for that. Frankie, how about you? What about the second one? Did you like it?
I never knew you could do donuts with a Mazda Miata. So I never did know that you could do a Mazda Miata donut. It was like some. I always liked some live action movie. Was some humor in it. So still, yeah, nice.
All right. How about the third?
The third. Oh yeah, it was very aesthetic. Was it like trying to portray the particle accelerator, some kind of scientific objects in like museums, like palaces? I think that was what they went for, and it was really nice. It was like it had a lot of eye candy, and the kaleidoscopic effect at the end was perfect.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think the gold and white played well with the kaleidoscope there.
Yeah.
It just there was one part of it that I swear coming up over the top of the one thing and going down the hallway, I was reminded of Oscar's chair, which is a 4K from Revision a few years ago. That just really well done. The fourth one, the shots bit here and about memes. It's about time we actually had that. I was wondering at what point when we were going to see something with Sika or whatever in the actual compo. It's about time we saw that. Now that it's out of the way, please don't flood next year's compo with that. The next one. Oh, I do want to say about the next one, which was basically all fractals. I did really like the greet in there. That one German guy at the Hills 2017. Just huge Nick in there. Everybody else is Nick, and then that one German guy. But what did you think of it, Frankie?
Not my cup of tea personally. Just fractals, yeah, nice, but 5 minutes and it'd be very, very, very pink and purple. Not my cup of tea, honestly.
What did you think of the C64 thing?
Well, I don't really know what to think about it. It was kind of nice, but I'm not sure what was the idea behind it. Yeah, I don't know if it wasn't communicated well, or is it just me who like didn't understand it well. So can't say anything really.
Music was, I think, the thing that stood out there.
Yeah.
Frankie, I'll skip. I'll take the next one because it also was fractals. It was very fractal. There were loads of fractals in this year's competition. But I liked. At first, I thought, oh, this is just fractal after fractal, and the frame thing is kind of nice. The ending got me with this one because it stopped being that, and I think that was a very good ending to that repetition, and then stop that repetition. I did like that about that one. Which brings us up to the next one, which was
Number 8.
yeah, with also had a weird ending.
Yeah, although it was the overall effects with all the cubes flying around the center thing really reminded me of all the Amiga things where you would have as much as sign dots around a certain object, and it did really like feel like that same thing done in modern age.
Yeah.
So effect well redone in today's times.
Brings us to Minecraft. What did you think?
Well, it was unexpected, but I think, wouldn't you say that politics and Minecraft, they're just made for each other?
I would absolutely say that. I thought that was very well done.
Yeah.
And then the next I already mentioned to Todd about the Frankie,
Yes.
the SBA production.
It's number 11.
That's the one with this in it.
So number 11.
Yes.
Yeah, my working numbers. Dancing Jesus. Those are my notes, and yes, it's nothing wrong with some silliness.
It's an SBA production. I was waiting for it, and I was not disappointed.
Cool.
And then it brings us to the last bit, half-bit cheese.
Yeah, it's classic half-bit cheese. It's fun. It's very well made, and I kind of wanted it to be a little longer than that, but they didn't overstay the welcome. They just had this short idea, and they made it short and to the point, and that's it.
Cool.
I did like that we did see one of the characters from one of the earlier compos in the vehicle. I thought that was really well done.
That's true.
All right, we need to wrap up because we're going to soon have, I believe it's old school
demo.
and I think some of us might want to see that.
Yes.
So,
we are now going to not run but hobble.
yes, we're going to hobble toward the big screen and watch the old school competition on there.